What's up? I just wanted to make this video because I don't know if I really clarified my points too much, but we have we must build a pragmatic future, like attacking each other for what wrongs have been done. I mean, it might be relevant and important for that thing, but for building forward here into the future, we're gonna really need to focus on new ideas. What are we gonna do? What's different? And I mean, I think an abrasive nationalism is going to be necessary in that. I hesitate on the Canada first, maybe Canada forward, maybe something, but like in the fall of the Venezuelan leader, that was it's interesting to see. It's good. It was more interesting to see how a lot of liberal people responded here in Canada, and a lot of the disgrace and the outrage for it. But you have to remember, this is a guy who nationalized the oil, he just took it himself, and ruined it. I mean, the industry's ruined, so they had to sell drugs. And so now it's coming back to bite in the ass. Why any liberals are upset about that, I don't really know. Maybe they've been doing crime in our country and they're worried the Americans might get them. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? I think that's a strong bet. We're really not going to find out how much corruption these people have done until they're gone, sadly. And I'll say this, the more fighting that older generations do of Pierre Poilievre and the future that he's presenting for us, the worse it's going to get. The worse it's going to get. I don't know if I've really specified this too much now, but I'll go into it. I think we have some of the most greedy generations. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I misunderstand. But they now are posting a housing thing for us that looks like relevant to like almost like what they did in the 60s. And they're reducing immigration. And, you know, they're really going with all the Pierre Poilievre platforms. They're really softening the blow. I mean, it's still going to go that way. We're the biggest demographic bloc in this next election. It's just what it is. Boomers just bought them time with Carney. But you know, the idea that dealing with the housing crisis was impossible, which is how we used to talk about it, I think is something not to forget, right? This is not impossible. It very easily was done. And they're working on it as of right now. I know it's not easily done, but you get what I'm saying. The idea that this is fucking impossible to do, that's a lie. And it seems to be that we're entering a time here in Canada where telling the truth is controversial. And people don't like that very much. I think Canada is an interesting example. We've been very propagandized too. I hold dear that the spirit of this country is there and that people are good here. But, you know, it's up for debate. I want Canadians to know that. Like, it's up for debate. I'm staking my ground here. You know my face. You roughly probably can figure out who I am. And so this could come back to bite me, you know, and that worries me to a degree. I'll be honest. It does worry me to a degree. But I haven't said anything that is awful. And if I was wrong about something, I'll correct myself. And so if I really do, then I'm willing to die on that hill. I think that's also some people who forget here. You're able to draw these red lines. For example, March 2027, they plan to bring in the terminal, so they can basically kill people who are terminally ill. I mean, they have to be in pain, and there's a few doctor reviews. But listen, at the end of the day, depression is not a terminal illness. Mental health is not a terminal illness. If they pass that, I deem them mentally ill, and maybe they're up for the chopping block, right? But, you know, before we get on a fear-mongering thing of that, truthfully, I think it's an expiration date. I don't think that's anything that even remotely would pass here. But it's an expiration date for the government, basically, would be my interpretation. I mean, I'm leaving the country if they pass that, because, like, we've lost our minds. And I think Canadians should pay attention to that. I wrote a whole essay about it not too long ago. And it's horrifying. My mom used MACE. She had cancer and she died and used it. So it's not like don't know what I'm talking about. It's a useful program, especially if people are hurt. Like, it's especially, oh, good lighting. There we go. Like some better lighting here. But it's especially useful when people are not doing well and are in a lot of pain. Yeah, it's crazy living in Canada at the moment. I mean, the immigration is going down, and um, even with the trade war stuff, I mean, I don't know. I just find it all funny. I'll be honest with you. It's funny now in 2026 being able to sit back and watch as all of these postmodern people completely make a fool out of themselves. They expose themselves as being no different than Trump. See, listen, whether you like Trump or not, at the end of the day, he is the ultimate postmodern president. Okay, what does he believe in? Nothing. He believes nothing. He's all about a deal, right? He's extremely pragmatic. I mean, pragmatic to the max. Like, I mean, at least I do believe in stuff. I would not just deal with anything. However, I think that man pretty much is almost any deal, which is good and bad. There's good and bad to that. And so his comment about the 51st state stuff is really just like, we're reacting like American liberals. If we react like American liberals, then we are American liberals. And so we really need to define this country more on the online space for conservatives. And so for any people who are watching this who are Canadian and conservative and live in this country, make videos. Make videos. Spread your opinion. Talk. The more people who see your stuff, the more emboldened they will feel. And it's not like you're spreading hate. It's not like I'm spreading hate at all. And if they want to drag me to court and say that I'm spreading hate, so goddamn be it. I've had plenty of different types of people in my background. It's just not, it won't stick. It won't stick. It will show the absurdity of it. And so this world is ours. This world is ours. This future is ours. And we should take it. Just get it. We have to take it. And no more talking, no more of this pretending like what's like going on is not wrong. We don't need to pretend anymore. You don't need to put an act on and act like what's been going on in this country has been okay. It's not been okay. And there's a lot of victims. And we can go down that list all we want, but at the end of the day, I think it's more important to move forward and to build institutions, because we've been given a gift at the end of the day. Whether or not we see it is part of the human condition, but we've been given a massive gift. It's called the world order to a degree, like the world peace, world order, whatever you want to call it. The world's been mapped. Everyone's on the map. Everyone has a seat at the table. Ethiopia's got that seat at the table of the League of Nations. Then it was the UN. Then we have everyone at the UN. And so, there's a great gift in that. We don't want that to fall apart, though, into war fighting, into whatever. But to do that requires not just an understanding of yourself. That's very important. But an understanding of the world around you. And if you're trying to understand another person, you need to understand them and the way they see their world around them and the way they see the world around them from outside. That's very, 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 very key. We do a lot of times when we study war, we do like the whole naval with an E approach. We just stare right at each other and we think, oh, we're so goddamn good. Woo-hoo. But you really need to look at, what did the enemy do? A lot of times in politics, it's not a person winning because they're particularly successful. A lot of times people win because someone else failed. Someone else did terrible. And that's the lesson to take from that. I think something also very interesting I'll just mention briefly is the idea of synchronicity and quantum entanglement and superposition, and how that relates to quantum physics and humanity as a whole and AI. I think this is all very important. I've had like some visions of how this all stuff is playing out and working, and it's been really messing with my head. Not like messing with my reality, but just thinking about it and like, what does it mean? And it's like, that's a hard question to answer. I think at the end of the day, though, what it is we all walk a line of good and evil, right? We all walk that line, and we all have to decide who we're going to be and the kind of person we're going to embrace. And I think sometimes, what is the message of World War II? I mean, there's a lot of messages, but lest we forget, it'll happen again if we don't. And so I want to say this. The Allies defeating an Axis, it's a key message, but it's also too when we saw the concentration camps and we got these fucking brutal Nazis that were there. their defense was always the same. It was, I was following orders. I was following orders. And I think that tells us something. It tells us something about humanity, and that we are capable of great, great, awful things. But if we, and especially if we just, well, I'm just going following my orders. And so I think spirituality is a very key part of all of this. I think that's something that we're starting to realize, and that needs to be taught. And it also needs to be taught in school, like, why is this country important? It's especially in Canada, because there's so many immigrants. And if you want immigrants to fight in a war for you, or at least care about this country, you need to teach them why. My girlfriend's from Ethiopia, and she doesn't really know why. They didn't really taught her why. And that's a problem. And I'm glad, I think the Ontario government has made some moves towards that, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, I want everyone to keep in mind, there is something very spiritual about all of this. Keep your wits about you, and everything's going to be okay. Really. Everything that's happening now is because of what's happening in the past. And everything that's happening in the past, like, people are preparing and setting up for it. And is it contrived conspiracy theories? Well, yeah, sometimes it is. But there's a lot of different groups and people who are doing these things. And so, no, not really. And, is it nuclear war what's going to happen? No, there's no benefit in that. China coming here? No, the Chinese are not a power anymore. Not really. No, this is America. This is their time to shine. They got they're a maritime continental empire. Unless someone can beat them on the water, this is it. Yeah. Anyway, see you guys later. Take care. And lest we forget, peace. Happy New Year.